Phoenix. Ooh, pardon me. Phoenix is rising. So I wanted to kind of do this in the dark because I didn't want to be on camera. But I was just got through a couple hours ago with, um, pardon me, with our first course, series of workshops focused on renewing your mind. And hopefully I can hear myself. Yes. Workshops with renewing your mind. And hello. Okay. Sorry, I'm looking at from my end, from the editor's end, I can see the how far it's going up or whatever. Okay. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, so yeah, just thinking about what we're thinking about and how that affects the choices that we make. And I was thinking, like, when you get on this soul journey, there was a lot of nuggets, and I am going to make it available for free. I decided uh, for everybody to listen to. Okay, so because one thing that I learned while I was on the streets was that how I thought about myself meant life or death. As many of you know, if you've listened to me on TikTok, when I go live at least once, about twice a week. So if you've listened to me there, you've heard my story. And part of it is, being when I was on the streets, 40 years old, and my life was turned literally upside down. Before this, I was a crafter. I was creating, candles. I had the dream of being bigger than Yankee Candles with my candles and my incense. And I wanted to branch off into soaps and doing all that stuff. And, then I got into fitness and had started a film group where we could work on each other's projects to help build each other's portfolios. And I noticed that all throughout that time of working, I was even going for my working on my master's online, and trying to get the experience through. And see, the thought, because I'd had such bad experience from another college where I got my BA, I didn't want to be in person for anybody. I didn't want to do, I didn't want to be subjected to other people's opinions, to have people retaliating against me, using me as a scapegoat, or whatever. I went to a weird college. It was called the Evergreen State College. And right now, I mean, they're still going through these crazy, weird things. And that they stage, and then you find out later, like when I graduated, I found out that after being put through the ringer there, the psychological ringer, while for all these trust fund babies and these international students, and I mean, we people of color were coming together, and like, we are sick. I'm going home, and as soon as I crossed the threshold, I was crying. And so basically we were being psychologically terrorized, and at a liberal college that was all for everybody's rights and picketing and all this other stuff. So that was the beginning, right? For me, it was the beginning, and I didn't recognize it until later. It started to, the longer I was there, the more it started to wear on me, but it was very cathartic because I read a lot. I noticed that when I was able to focus on reading, focus on my projects, focus on things, because I had people that wouldn't work with me, so that was my learning. I mean, and they offered it when I signed up for the class, the college. They had offered it like they actually had a film studio. That's how the Evergreen State College pitched their 1-year film program, that they actually had a film studio and they were just updating and upgrading it. That's what I was told while I was working on my AAS, and they were coming to recruit people. And I thought that there was something weird and off about the person because she was like resistant in telling me anything, and very kind of like, well, that's common sense, like, the gaslighting, the terms that I know, things of that nature, right? But I didn't know better, and I will continue to say this, Phoenix, is when we know better, we do better. If you don't know, you were shocked. Sometimes it's a shock, like having scalding hot water on you. When you come across somebody who is a cluster B personality, when you come across the school like I had, that is there just for the money. They are there just to program you and control you under the guise of being a liberal college. It was the most racist college. The Evergreen State College was the most I had ever been to. That it introduced me. It's like, but it was the most cathartic time getting into it. Gratefully, thank God. I miss reading. Because when in a state of fight or flight, freeze or fawn, right? Because you're in a toxic, and because when you're constantly in a state of fight or flight, freeze or fawn, right? Because you're in a toxic environment dealing with narcissistic people or cluster B personalities, they always kind of have you on this back and forth, okay, it's safe for a little bit. Oh, now I got to get up, right? So it's been a pattern is created. That's why I have a workshop called the second workshop that is in a series of 5 on getting to your authentic self, basically. And we're starting with the mind, renewing your mind. And that's called From Pavlov to God. Pavlov to the God in you, But I liked it because, when you're in a relationship with a cluster B personality, they are grooming you constantly. This is what they like to do. And the cognitive dissonance comes, whereas, well, they just showed me this impeccable love and I felt their heart. You got a character and they played their role very well. You got a character and they played their role extremely well. And that's what they like to do. And another, so when you go to environments that are structured this way, right? The first environment that I went to, that I ended up, and I didn't understand. I did at the time, as I was transitioning spiritually from Christianity, right? Because I was like, okay, this isn't really doing much for me. I said, what else is out there? Because you're not, I grew up where, God was basically a narcissistic sociopath. And I said this in this workshop on self-talk, that how I learned that we just did the second day that was today was rocked. So I learned to be that I was powerless. I learned all that shit. I learned that nobody cared about my feelings, right? Nobody cared that I didn't like something. You imagine growing up in an environment where nobody talks to you, has a discussion with you. The only people that want to know anything about you are strangers. And you really can't let them know anything because that's taboo. But imagine that. Imagine, I remembered thinking to myself, I don't even know this guy who calls himself my father. And I mean, he was mean to dogs too. And I have 3. He was mean to animals. I've always had animals, I've loved animals more than I've loved humans. I always had animals. And I'm growing up with this man who's telling me if I would have been a normal child and you were supposed to be a boy, right? It wouldn't be until later that I would maturely process and analyze, unpacking that during my soul journey while homeless. Because even though I thought, okay, I dealt with the surface stuff, right? We deal with the surface stuff, the stuff that's glaring. There are many layers, right, in an onion. When you cut up an onion, what do you see? Like rings of a tree, you see layers, right? That's what we see. So my one of my pity was whining, and so and it's we've been going through. Phoenix is rising. I have been going through a lot that you guys don't even know about. And you guys help me to focus, right? Because my purpose is for to share with you guys exactly like I was shown by the divine, by the most high, on my journey, on my when I finally took up the call, the hero's journey as it's called, right? When I finally, because first the hero doesn't want to take on the journey. I didn't want to take on the journey from being in Olympia, Washington. I had no intentions of, because I was like, what I saw there was demonic. That would be my first real introduction to the dark arts, the occult, because I had people attacking me. I remember I had my apartment manager was trying to set me up with her best friend, a female, or was trying to set me up with her uh, son. Too many times I had to pay $200, $300, right, for my electric bill, and I'm wondering what the hell is it? Well, she had her name on it. I found out later. So she was charging. Her charges were my charges. I mean, the sick thing that so I mean, this was in Olympia, Washington. So this is what I was, I, I was subjected to. Like, seriously. Because I had no idea that people like this existed, but narcissism wasn't even a term. And one other thing that I noticed with narcissists is that they will admit what they're into. Right? I would have several that would say, "Oh, we're witches," or they had witchery in their family. Right? I mean, I have three people now that have been harassing me for the longest time, and they've admitted, "Yeah, we got witches in our family," or "I got witches in my family," or "I practice witchcraft." One was a gang member, but she hid it. But I happened to see, and I put two and two together. Um, but I happened to see her come back to the condo one night, dressed in what I've call now is Nazi colors, because she's a North Daniel. And so she, I mean, which doesn't really matter because they're all, from what I understand, they're all together. That's the Unistidos. It's no more La Raza. It's Unistidos. So, to each his own, but you don't have the right to attack innocent people. And that's what I felt there. So that energy, that spirit, that principality over that city and uh, over that campus, because it wouldn't be. I mean, I would see people jumping around, chirping like frogs, high out of their damn minds, and get so offended if they were called out. Right? So that was the beginning, and it was overwhelming. My brain had no way of processing the contradictory or over that city and over that city, because I had never experienced that. And I had never experienced people forcing you to engage with them. Right? And so when, Senator Obama at the time, there was talk, all of a sudden, it kind of all of a sudden just felt like he appeared. And when he came I think this was in 2007-8 for me. So when he came and, he became president, it was weird because here's this other society in this city. Here's this other way of being president. It was weird because here's this other society in this city. Here's this other way of being. And here are these people who are racist, who are occultist, who are, I could say now narcissistic, a sense of entitlement, cluster B personalities. Everybody's, you know what I mean? Like just gross. I mean, I never felt safe on campus. It was literally a damned if I did and damned if I didn't. If I didn't engage, they would make, they would call me, say that I was being aggressive or saying that I was being unruly on purpose or something like that. I forget the actual term. But, if I participated, they ignored me. So it was bait and switch up. We want to bait you so that we can experiment with you. That's what it was at the Evergreen State College. So bait you so that we can experiment with you and play all these games. So when I got out of, so that was the time that I was supposed to have the call, that I was supposed to go on my deeper soul journey. I went on a journey, but I went on a surface journey because it took me a lot to understand what it was that I just experienced for 2 years. I mean, I was so discombobulated. I talked to somebody who had gone to the college beforehand, and she had gotten out, and she said it took me a year to purge myself of that college. Right. So as a professional life coach, narc coach, and helping guiding people to their authentic self, the first thing is when you know better, you do better. When you know how you work inside, Phoenixes, when you know thyself, nobody else can come in and tell you anything about who you are, though they try, because they will try. So that was the beginning. I didn't go as deep as I needed to, but I, as I would end up going when I would become homeless. But I mean, when I left, it scared me, because when I left, I said, I got to get out of here. I told the Most High, I said, we got to get out of here, because if we don't get out of here, me and my cat, if we don't get out of here, I'm going to go crazy. Because I've never experienced, I mean, I would just have people, it was almost as if I was standing in line for somebody to punch me, because I wasn't assimilating that environment. I wasn't assimilating that energy. Many of us weren't. And unfortunately, I didn't have a family cushion. Like when the holidays would come, I've always spent the holidays by myself, right? Birthdays included. So when the holidays would come, some of the other people who had shared my same uh, experience, we'd swap recipes, we'd swap notes, and say, yeah, I experienced that, and who did that, and this person did this, and then they, I mean, to this day, I still can't articulate the insanity. But it was some Alice in Wonderland shit. I always used to say to myself, this is like a hybrid of the Stepford Wives and another movie, but I forget it now. But anyway, so, I didn't get that respite, but by myself. I would even have my neighbors looking at something to complain about come up to me and knock on my door. It's like, you know what? We really are tired of all the noise and we're moving out. Okay, bye. Like, how is that you know what I mean? Like, just weirdo stuff like that. And so I didn't, I was so discombobulated, but I said, we got to go, because if I don't, I couldn't feel myself. And I have been, at that time, I had been a person who had been working out like heavily, like weightlifter working out. And I lost muscle because of the stress. I looked like I was 6 months pregnant for a long time. Like I really did. Like everything was puffing out, and I had six pack. Right? I mean, booty bam, muscles bam, everything was bam. And going to that school and dealing with that demonic energy, because I really can't say it was the people, but the demons in them. And that's what that's why I keep repeating, Phoenixes, that if you know who you are, nobody else can deceive you. And it's a lifetime process. It's not something that you just do once, Phoenixes. It's a lifetime process. getting to know you. The first thing is, see, I had gone on my healing journey, and I had uncovered some things, right? But I hadn't gone to, I mean, to me, deep is deep, I mean, I'd gone deeper than people around me, or what I was told, whatever, if I'd see a counselor and end up counseling them, right? So I mean, I'd gone deeper than I, than the average person in that environment. But when I moved to California, and I mean, I moved scared. I moved, knowing that I would be broke, but thinking that I would be able to get a job, all of that. And I am working on my documentary now, and I've just been putting, things together because, again, I'm still dealing with the gang stalking. I'm still dealing with people who are throwing witchcraft at me. The other couple nights ago, I had a scare, and I get tired of the witchcraft because the witchcraft that they do when you're, because see, when you elevate phoenixes, and the entities see that, the principalities see that over a city, over a neighborhood, right? They see that, they're like, okay, no, we're going to attack that, right? So if anybody, I mean, people with cluster B personality disorders have allowed themselves to get a demonic walk in because they've been working from bitterness. They've been working from poverty and scarcity. They, well, I got abandonment issues. Something happened to me when I was a child, and nobody allowed me to heal. And we just, I mean, we've been through it to some, in some shape or form. And I believe that for me, when I was still in my household as a child, I remembered clear as day saying that I would, looking at them, and I believe I was doing some type of military exercise because that was part of my punishment regimen for just living. Like, seriously, for just living. I wasn't allowed to be a child. And I was the scapegoat, black sheep, garbage can for the whole entire family, known or unknown. Um, so and forgive, so anyway, yeah, so about 2 days ago, so what's hard when you are being psychically attacked, so when you grow up and you don't, when you mature spiritually, right? So I had been dealing, healing trauma bonds, because when I became homeless at 40, and I said, you know what, I said, I can't blame, I'm not going to blame anybody. What thinking, what is in me that brought me to being living with these people on the streets, right? What brought me here? And so what thinking, because I was struggling when I had moved here. This is when I was introduced to gang stalking, right? So but now gang stalking is a popular, term that everybody's using, kind of like narcissism. And those of us who had been saying we were being gang stalked, people weren't listening to us. People were saying that we're crazy. Why would somebody just come after you? Why would somebody pick you for a job? Why would somebody just want to marry you? Right? See, it can be returned, you know, but nobody believed me. We were called crazy and quacks. We were told that we were bipolar or schizophrenic. None of the above. Now everybody's talking about gang stalking since the lockdown, after the lockdown. Now people are talking about gang stalking. And I had already been talking about, I mean, I hadn't had a real big platform or anything because I was still going through it. I mean, it got so bad to where I literally called the police, and the police are the ones that told me. I said, look, I got kids who are harassing me. I got kids who are putting garbage on my patio or knocking on my door and leaving. I'm on the third floor. They're on the ground in another totally complete different building, you know? And I was being followed, or when I would go to the park, or I would see a scene, which now I know is called street theater. Um, I would see a scene of people doing the same thing that they did yesterday, because the way that I get rid of my stress is to work out. That's part of it, and mostly cardio. Like, I love to walk and listen to music and tune out. You know. And on my trip, it was about a 2 mile walk around the complex, because it was I think it was like a 2.8 acre complex. And so, I would go around it, and I'd see, all of a sudden, as soon as I came out, it felt energetically that somebody was calling action. That's what it felt like energetically. Somebody had called action and was like, "Oh, okay, now we start." So if I went the same way in the same direction, there was an intersection, a small little intersection, nothing big. It would just go from one complex to the next, or one driveway from the shopping mall to the complex on the other side. And that was kind of like the intersection. You can go in and go out, basically, and whoever wanted to go north or south could go north or south. And so, but as soon as I hit this intersection, though, people would flip around, which was legal. That's what it was there for. Would flip around, do U-turns, and screech, and I would look, and I would see them looking at me. No, it would be different if it was just one person, but it wasn't. Also, the other thing that was very scary that I'd never experienced were people trying to run me over, trying to hit me with their vehicle. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it was a big thing. It was a big, it was just really weird. But I'd keep walking, but I'm knowing, see, we got to listen to our spidey sense. This is my whole thing. When we don't allow people to tell us that we're crazy, right? Because we live in a country that always blames the victim, always blames the survivor. We never, sometimes, we don't get to have that new life. We don't get to have that, what would it be called? Um, that perfect story, right? That perfect, well, like on the movies where this is a real life based on a real story, right? True events, right? We don't get to have that grand uh parade or whatever when we cross the finish line. We don't get to have that. um so anyway, I was lost my mind, almost lost. I mean, I was reacting too much to everything. And it was a Google search that took me to, because I was like, community stalking. That's the first thing that came to my mind. And I don't know what exactly I put in. I think I put in either multiple people stalking or community stalking or neighborhood stalking is probably what I did, because I lived in a neighborhood. But I would have people follow me. I would be followed to the doctors. Somebody would be waiting out in the parking lot. I actually confronted a guy, Russian dude. I've never seen him in the apartment complex. When I was in the apartment complex, I would try different things. So when I was in the apartment complex and I wanted to work out, use their treadmill and stuff, which is an anonymity that I should have had access to. All of a sudden, it was permanently under construction. But then I would pass it, and I would see two or three people on a machine on those treadmills, right? So that's gaslighting. And the reason why my mind started was because I didn't realize when I was being flirted with. And I know how that seems, but that's how it started. And I didn't realize I didn't know if this person who worked for the hotel, because I was just signing up, I was getting the paperwork done, right? I was doing all this stuff. And uh it was during one of the office visits that this woman, came in and looked me up and down, kind of gave me that jailhouse, women's prison look. And I was like, And so, I mean, that's basically the look on my face and the shake of my head. And she took offense to that. And I could feel that. I could feel that from her. Again, I've always been an empath, just never really honed in my skills. And so I could feel that, but I was like, you never think that a simple gesture, a simple rejection is going to lead to 10, 11 years of being stalked and sabotaged. People's like, well, why didn't you move? When you don't have the money, you can't do what? Right? So, I mean, like I just recently, last year, had these people calling my job, telling them that I was doing such and such. Now, this is where it gets out of conspiracy, and I mean, because people are conspiring, but it was real because it's tangible. When I have my boss calling me and saying, "You wouldn't believe some of the things that people call," and they call all the time. And she's like, if I didn't know who you were and your character, we would have been fired you, right? So there are people who are targets that they're trying to make you lose your job, and that's what they did with me last year. They were so upset that I had gotten off the street, and that not only that I'd gotten off the street, but I wasn't able to be bullied anymore. Doesn't mean that they're still not going to try. Like a couple of weeks ago, for a week, and it was Santa Muerte week, so before for a week I was accosted at as soon as I would get off of work, at a site that I worked, and people would come in literally violating my privacy, violating my space, and I had to pull a weapon on a guy because I'm not your I know who I am now, and I know how what I'm worth, whether you think so or not, right? um so it's real, it's all and it when you're telling people this, they really don't really understand it. They don't, I mean, you know what I mean? They don't, some people don't understand it, some people don't want to talk about it, and it's hard to go through alone. So my target audience are those who are transitioning from very traumatizing situations, like being homeless, like getting out of gang stalking, or if you're still going through gang stalking. Because to me, gang stalking is a sorority for cluster B personalities and their flying monkeys. Like alcoholics go to Alcoholics Anonymous, overeaters go to Overeaters Anonymous, gang stalkers go to gang stalking, sorority. And they make it look so grandiose because who doesn't want to get away with stealing, killing, people, and that's basically what they end up doing. So people who have no empathy are what? Cluster B personalities. That's the narcissist. That's the malignant narcissist, the psychopathic narcissist, the sociopathic narcissist, the borderline, the histrionic, right? The antisocial. Those are the types of creatures that demon possess, that don't care about what you say, or any boundaries that you make, right? People are always saying, well, it's because you didn't have any boundaries and that's why you got into a relationship with a narcissist, or it's because you're an empath and you have abandonment issues and you're clingy or you're codependent. And not all the time is that the case. Let me tell you what, if you have a cake, you have a cake. You didn't bring the trauma to you. The trauma came to you willingly because they had already had their eyes on you. I guarantee you. I guarantee you they had already had their eyes on you. So you having, other trauma bonds that you haven't released or let go of has had nothing to do with what this cluster B personality has put you through. It's had nothing to do with it. And once you learn, because see what it basically just helps them to, okay, you're going to stop. Get down. Sorry, my baby, she gets jealous. My grandbaby gets jealous of the firstborn. Stop. Lay down. No. No. What are you doing? Okay, now all of a sudden they want to get intimate and want me to rub them down and up and whatever. Okay. Go on. Lay down, please. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. My firstborn is so stubborn. She knows me so well. She is my daughter in dog form. And they've tried killing her. And in when I was doing the workshop today, and I'm on West Coast time, so I was doing the workshop today at 3:30 is when it started on self-talk, and it was the second day. And beforehand though, what I thought about is weird, things just kind of come to you when you're in prayer and meditation, and I pray and meditate before I do my workshops because I want to be present for you guys and be divinely inspired instead of just allowing, whatever it is I think you need to know. I got the topic, but I need, spirit to flow through me and for those in need. So anyway, but so in prayer and meditation, what was revealed to me is like last year, they tried to kill all three of us. So, except for the grandbaby. So they tried to kill me. They tried to kill my Staffy. They tried to kill my Min Pin Chihuahua mix. I mean, it was never ending. It was never ending. And so, and if I would not have gone through what I went through to gain emotional intelligence, to not have those what they could attach to, right? To not give these demons a foothold inside of me, right? And I remembered when I was going on my shadow, doing my shadow work on the street, right? What a place to start, continue your healing journey. What a place, what a time, right? So I was like, okay, I'm on my healing journey, you know, and I've asked these questions, right? Because see, I'm the type of person, and most of us empaths, earth angels are. We are the type of person. We are alchemists, so we can make water out of wine. I can make soup out of stone. I can make a hearty beef stew out of a stone. Feed about 100. I know how to do that. So even on the streets, I realized that they did not want to have a community. And I realized that everybody's just kind of there to pick everybody else's carcass because they all feel like they're just the walking dead. They feel like they're zombies. Nobody's there to get up. I was not drinking. I was not doing any drugs. I did have a beer that somebody handed me. I thought, okay, well, maybe it'll relax me. No, it opened me up to the darkness and demonic entities in the spiritual realm that were surrounding me. Right. But also, and so I just stopped. I said, okay, I'm too sensitive right now. I'm too sensitive. Right. It was too soon because I hadn't done enough work on me myself. So as God started to work with me on the questions that I'd asked him, like, hey, why is it that I'm afraid to make money? Why is it that I'm afraid to go here? Because what I found for myself, Phoenixes, was that, and I think that's for a lot of us, whether we realize it or not, we've made different choices outside of the real choices that we should have made because of fear of what somebody say, fear of us failing, fear of it going too good, and fear of people stealing your money. Like I had to ask that again, like, Lord, okay, why am I afraid of getting clients? Right? What is the real reason? And the real reason that was revealed to me is because when I was a kid. So this is the reason why we go do our shadow work, Phoenixes, because at every level, it's not a new devil, but it's a new layer that we need to peel back. If we don't peel back all the layers, we're going to truncate our growth. We're going to truncate our spiritual growth. It's spirit first, then it's material shit later. So when I asked God, it's like, why? I said, because I know I had a lot of people wanting to sign up, a lot of people jazzed, and I could tell it's like all these people are going to sign up. And I was freaking out. Self-sabotage was on the brink, man. And I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God. So I had to ask, I was like, okay, finally, Mom, why is it that I can't, that I'm feeling this way? Why am I feeling nervous? Why am I feeling afraid? When this is what I want. This is what I desire to do. I desire to be a life coach. I desire to be a filmmaker. I desire, in a nutshell, to profit off of my divinity, to profit off of what I do naturally. Why am I afraid when this is what I want? So I have, and I'm always about getting a personal relationship, right? When I got a personal relationship with God, and when I finally got over the lightning striking, right? Like I really thought that I was going to get struck. I really did. I thought I was going to get struck. So when I finally got over that and I got to love God, I got to know God. I said, I need to know you for myself when I was on the streets, especially. Like I knew God and I would recite all the words. I mean, I love the Bible. Parts of it, I'm not going to debate that. But I love the Psalms and the Proverbs. They're my special ones, right? Um, but I love God. When I started to realize that God was my father, right? But I had to even take that by layers, because why? When you are in relationships, it's layered. They're very insidious and they're very meticulous about what they do. I had a succubus who I knew already before I even came, because God was telling us, telling me, I always include my fur babies because this is my family. So the Most High was saying, hey, I'm making too much money. I want to stack, right? That was then, but I was like, I want to get the hell up out of Sacramento. I want to get the hell up out of California. I want to get up the hell up out of everywhere, right? I don't want to be here anymore, right? I've grown. It's time to go, right? But one thing I had learned, my impatience while I was on the streets, right? My impatience. Sometimes our impatience, Phoenixes, will be the reason we don't get to where we need to go, because what is it? Oh, there's a definition. I think it's grace. Grace is when we realize that we've done all that we can and we just wait for God. That's grace. Or actually that's another, I think it was mercy. There's something about mercy. Anyway, I wrote it down, but I don't have it correctly, so I'm not going to repeat it. But that was one of my very, very big, that was one of the hindrances. It's like God was saying, hey, it's not that you don't know what you're doing. You're very skilled. I gave you those talents. You're multi-talented in creative, right? People slept on you on purpose because they were hoping that at a certain age, you notice how everybody's at a certain age. By this and this age, by between 5 and 10, you should be doing this. 10 and 15, you should be doing this. 15 and 25, you should be doing this, right? I mean, like seriously, that's where we go, right? And then when you tap out of that, that's because that's a matrix. That's how they can control you. Because if I see that you're not successful by 40, then there's something wrong with you. Well, no, I'm not successful because you've been attacking me, right? So, and that's after you've done your soul work, where you can discern, okay, I've done all that I can, so I'm standing and waiting on grace, right? To come in. Because when you're purposely being sabotaged, because somebody knows that if you get into that environment, it's going to change it. My spiritual mom used to say, we don't go into places just to be there necessarily, especially light workers, earth angels, empaths, healers, right? We go into an environment to change the environment. So whether it's like, some of us go in there, it's like, okay, I'm on a mission, I'm going to go figure out, no, but sometimes it's just the very fact that I do my prayer and meditation clears the air. Where it's not that things don't happen here, but things could be a heck of a lot worse if I wasn't waking up every morning and saying, protect this place, protect my, you know what I mean? Our energy follows us. So um so yeah, on the streets, um and forgive me, sometimes I get sidetracked again, because like I've been under real heavy attack and it's been absolutely driven me bonkers. Not bonkers, but so here's one thing that sometimes when these and that's what I was going to talk about too. The cluster B personalities. So they're grooming you, they're conditioning you. And it's multifaceted and it's layered. Because why? They will repeat a cycle every 2 to 3 months. They will repeat their own pattern with you. right? So it basically it starts all over again. If you've ever talked to somebody, a DV survivor, what do they say? It was like, I thought it was we were good, we were making progress, and then all of a sudden it starts all over again. So sometimes in the relationship you will still have the same tactics used over and over and over again. The idealizing, the love bombing, and then the discard, right? That can happen right there. The discard doesn't mean that you have to leave the home. Shit, the discard may happen while you both buy a home, while you sign on the dotted line that you're owners of this home. People, I mean, it's situations. It's you know what I mean. It's because you don't know what a lot of people don't know is like, okay, am I the main source? Am I the main supply? Right? They got two different types of supplies. The supply is, what they get on the external is one supply, and the other supply is what they get on the internal, meaning in the home, right? They'll build a family unit, some of them, right? And they have their main squeeze. Like I had a succubus who was here in the hotel, and she was, now that I feel it, she's that type of person that likes to influence your subconscious mind. She was very interesting because she was my first succubus. Thankfully, I had already gone through it with a DJ, and if you've been on my TikTok, Phoenix Rising Academy TikTok, or Instagram, or mostly the Phoenix Rising, or actually you could just go into my TikTok live replays playlist and listen, because so I had a DJ who I found out was a sex offender, right? So I'm meeting all these weird demonic gang stalkers, these women who are fragmented, human fragmented, and soul fragmentation going on with them, to the point where they leave their bodies without even thinking about it, because they're housing these demons. So she was the first one. Actually, she was the second one, because in the DJ I saw the demons too, because like I said, I caught her coming back to the condo. I stayed with her for 2 months before I officially took on and said I'm just going to be homeless, because I got tired of people wanting to have sex with me, trying to bargain or barter. If we give you a roof over your head, you're going to have sex with us. You're going to have to pay more than what we pay. You're going to have to be our servant. Which one woman, even when I was on the street, she was like, "You're my slave." And I heard her say that. I stopped, right? So there are toxic people out there that like to exploit, who are just, without the being labeled, narcissist or cluster B personalities. So when I met this succubus, she was one of those who could influence you by her thoughts, right? She could be talking, which I found was really amazing. And those of you who have experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. But when you, as an empath, you're clairaudient, you're clairvoyant, you're clairsentient, right? So I have those gifts. I've been having those gifts all my life, and that's been my saving grace. And I'm blessed, and I'm grateful for my ancestors and my bloodline. Thank you, which is why I took on the call to break those generational curses, if only in the spiritual realm, on every level, in every dimension, because that's a legacy that I'm leaving. I would like to leave more of a legacy here in this world, but I don't know. I know what my hopes are, right? And we just have to take one day at a time. Because like I said, what I've been experiencing lately is somebody's obsession with ending my life. You know, and still it's the weirdest thing, that's that somebody's trying to take your life, and all you can do is go about it. you know I mean, because it's not that I don't have faith in God, but it's that I know how thick and dense evil can be, right? One thing about people with cluster B personalities is that they are severely unpredictable. You don't know when they're going to attack, and they like that. And a lot of it's just them hiding themselves. They cloak themselves. Again, because they don't, people's like, well, not you always go to this witchcraft, because that is witchcraft. When you are trying to change somebody's destiny and hold somebody hostage instead of having a relationship with them, you are into witchcraft. Period. This succubus, still, I haven't talked to her for over a year. This woman literally only wanted to sleep with me and get money out of me. And because I didn't do that, because I listened to the Most High and my guides, my spirit team was like, I already knew there was something wrong with her. But my spirit team was confirming, because with succubuses, they are the vampires, right? Vampire character is an incubus as a male, right? They're just using vampire because they're draining your blood. They're draining your energy force. They're draining your life force. This woman, I heard her say, well, so anyway, she was the first one that would watch. She'd be talking to her husband, who she never called her husband, talking to her husband, a guy who made, a lot of money doing construction. You know what I mean? That's how she was supported. While he was at work, she would just be tweaked out, cracked out, high in her hotel room. Oh, I sell nails. No, I think you're sleeping with other people in the hotel, but okay. You know, to each his own, none of my business. And I really didn't want it to be anything to do with them. I just said something nice because I thought, it was uncomfortable. I kept passing them. Every time I went to work, I noticed that they were always outside. And now that I know, though, it was her who was staging it to where they would be outside when I would leave for work. See that? And when you don't know the environment, right? When you're not listening to your spidey senses, because why, Phoenixes? Somebody has already told you that you're crazy or you're paranoid or you're schizophrenic, right? They always have to add a mental disorder on there that you don't have. I mean, if you have it, you got it. But if you don't, you don't. And people are too quick to misuse terms for frivolous things because they don't have the maturity to understand what it is that is actually happening, that there are different dimensions and levels to our existence. And if there are different dimensions and levels, that means that you can have somebody like this succubus who was talking to her husband but also having a telepathic conversation with me, and I would hear her, of course, because of who I am, the divine that I am, my natural spiritual gifts. So she would be talking, and then the DJ did this too when I was living with her, right? So one thing that I've noticed with these people, and it could have been cultural, because both of these women were Hispanic, and it's not being racist. It's like there's some people, if I could say if I was in Africa and there's a culture and that they engage in what you could call vaudou or whatever to get whatever they want, then that I'd say that. But these were Hispanic women who were admitted witches. And that's because that's part of their culture. They call it brujera to try and make it sound as if it's something so respectable, and it's not. It's not when you use it like this. It's not when you use it because you want to have sex with somebody because you have a sex demon on you, which has turned you into a succubus because nobody provided the healing that you needed for whatever happened to you to turn you into this creature. And that's why I decided to show to my Phoenixes rising and how blessed we are to be able to take what we say, well, I'm not doing much in this life. You didn't turn into a demon. You didn't allow a demon to walk into your body and wear you like a scuba suit. That was enough. You took on as much as you possibly could, and that's enough. Because I tell you what, Phoenixes, there's a lot of these people out here, like the ones I'm talking about with cluster B personality disorders, who they didn't take it on and they chose another route. It fragmented them to their core. It doesn't mean that we're not fragmented, Phoenixes, but it means that we are refusing to mutate. We're refusing it. We're like those people, and I guess, this is just coming to my mind, so take it as it resonates. I guess it's that we're not, when we go through trauma, and we don't have an outlet, we're going to create one, right? We're going to stop ourselves from wanting to feed on somebody, some innocent's blood, some innocent's energy, right? You may siphon a little bit, but find a way to get it back to them, right? That's how we are. It's not that we don't go through the same things, but the end result is different. The end result is that I'm conscious of my of who I am. The end result is that I'm not passing on those generational curses to somebody else. I grew up in an SA family, a sex offending family. Generationally on my mom's side especially. That's how she became a cluster B personality. You see? And in some cases, if you've had, if they've had that generation by generation by generation, which can be culturally, there are collectivist narcissistic cultures. I know of two that are really bad, that have had, big gains in the world by being so. And these two women came from one of those cultures where it's like, okay, we get what we want, we're entitled. What you got, we got. As soon as we cross over, we're going to take everything that you have, and we're going to make you the enemy. I mean, that's just what happens, right? So when this woman was talking to me and I heard her say, I'm going to destroy you, you're going to heal me, and I'm going to charge you $1,000. You're going to, I mean, it was really weird because she's saying one thing to me, but she's professing, and it's almost like when you talk inside of your head and nobody can hear you, right? But this woman had multiple people, so she's not just talking to me. She's saying one thing and then she's saying another thing. Those other two things are inside of her head. I just happen to hear it because I tune into that frequency. Projector, where she will influence you. That's why I'm doing these series of workshops on renewing your mind. Because it's, again, if you don't know what you're thinking about, I have had gone through hell because this woman is now sick from the witchcraft that she's done on me, that I've had. I know I don't live a lifestyle to receive. But this woman, this succubus, really had me over, I mean, like in awe, really, because I was like, really had me over, I mean, full personality. So one thing with her is that, again, this is why I'm doing these 5 workshops on 3-day workshops on renewing your mind. Because if I hadn't have done my work and been continuous in it, been consistent with my practice, spiritual practice and heals, like I can see my guides sometimes. They rotate in and out, which is absolutely bad. And you actually they rotate in and out, which is absolutely awesome. I feel this, a bit bad when they're, that you got power, that they're here for you when you need them. What is not cool about your husband watching a football game, but I can feel her presence. But you're sending a fragment of yourself to somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm amazed by that. I was amazed that she could do that. I was amazed that nobody in her family or her husband didn't even sense, because what she was doing to her husband was poisoning him. See, the thing with people with cluster B personalities, they can make love to you. They can love bomb you every once in a while because they're feeling good about something with their other people that they have, because they're cheaters. They're afraid of abandonment. So they're always going to have multiple partners, right? Because they can compartmentalize. They can play each role as if it is their only and last role to perfection. And they can shut off like a light switch and turn on like a light switch. They can turn on and off, right? So they know. It's not that they don't know, they know. But with this woman, so I mean, I was like, okay, wait a minute, you're in my space. And so she does that like a snake. And when I say really like a slug, had the body of a slug. Because this woman, I was like, okay, I'm tired of your stuff, because it's like, okay, you kept, every time I didn't talk to her, she was like, I could hear her say, why aren't you calling me? And it's because I don't like you, So I remember when they had left the hotel, and I remember when I'd finally given her my number. I was reluctant, and I finally gave her my number, and I was like, okay, so all right, bye. Good luck. Because I was focused on myself. I was focused on, getting to my goal. And COVID had just, we were in lockdown. And I think it was before I think we were in lockdown. And so, because we had already been here for like, in the hotel for like 3, 4 months. I only left. And I've caught her in a lot of lies too. This was like, it was inconsistencies, And one thing that you will find with people with cluster B personalities, which is a character disturbance. So that's why they work from patterns. Patterns, you got to be willing to change your mind, renew your mind, right? Renewing your mind helps to heal your soul, which is why I'm doing again the 5 workshops on, renewing your mind. Basically, it's taking little chunks that I had in a big program that I was going to offer, but would have cost a lot more money. So, I figured people can afford $35 for 3 days. You're paying $10 a day about. If not, then you just don't want to be on your healing journey, and I can't guide you through. I can't guide. I can lead somebody to water. I can't make them drink, and that's up to other people. But so with her, uh, so she could change. So that, I mean, that's basically what it was. Is like, and she had targeted me even before we had officially moved into this hotel. And you know uh and I felt that, but I just kind of let it pass because I didn't think anything would come of it. But see, I'll collect information. I'll acknowledge what they're with the download. I'll acknowledge what they're telling me to pay attention to, and then I'll file it away for later. And so that way there's no confusion. Now, really what's hard with people with cluster B personalities and being involved in witchcraft and their soul fragmented and whatnot is that it's all spiritual. It's on, unless you're on a spiritual vibration, you can't prove anything. Nobody ever, that's why people think that you're crazy. And it's not because they think that you're crazy because they actually think that you're crazy. They're jealous because they don't have that gift that you do. So anytime somebody says, "Oh, you're crazy for talking about this witchcraft and occult things," those things don't happen. That's only in the movies. Where do you think the movies get it from? I felt this woman tap into my chakras. This woman knew to tap in, literally. The demon entity in her knew to tap into my heart chakra because she had already been uh with me in the U-Haul, posing as somebody, right? Posing as somebody that she thought that I would be receptive to. Because if I would, this is how they cloak themselves, right? So let's say you like wizard movies and magic and movies and TV series and stuff like that. They talk about cloaking there. They talk about, oops, sorry, baby girl. Is anybody explain to me why dogs like to be in the most uncomfortable places for humans? Like, you're in between, and not to say anything, but she's in between my legs, my grandbaby. She's really comfortable there. And she's one that doesn't want to move. So just bear with me. Hold on just a minute, Phoenixes. Nubian, I think, is going into heat. That's why she's doing that. She's feeling her going. You and your gay ass. Malcolm, you will get out of me in Jesus' name. I rebuke you in Jesus' name. I bind this demonic entity that has attached itself to me. Right now, I am not your host. You do not have permission. We do not have a contract. And in Jesus' name, I declare and decree that you will not be a part of me. You will not mesh yourself in with me. I don't care what human sack you are attached to. None of you, either of you, have any authority over me. And I rebuke you and I call you, send you back down to the bowels of hell. In Jesus' name. Amen. And Ashe and Asheo. I felt that too, bitch. I hate that, dude. I really do. All right, Phoenix is rising. Sorry, thank you for allowing me to take a bit of a break. And also, I had to rebuke that spirit because, again, she is always here. This is somebody who has a severe mental disorder. But anyway, as I was saying, forgive me if I lose my place, you guys, because it's just a lot. But so here's a woman who had been stalking me spiritually, right? Because physically, it would be too obvious. Not to say that they probably didn't come around, right? But I had known that she had attached herself to me, but I didn't think too much of it, right? Because I was focused really on working and saving up money, and I had the year before, that year, I had two deaths. One was one of the grandpuppies, and one was my mother. So this is what I mean. When you are dealing with cluster B personalities don't care what you've gone through. They don't give a shit. They use it, they exploit it. My being homeless, a lot of people wanted to exploit me. A lot of people wanted, because they thought that I was being stuck up. See, I've never been to a city where it has this false sense of familiarity. A false sense of familiarity means you don't know the person, but you're acting as if to warm them up, to make them read. That was a big thing for me, because I didn't. It's like, okay, no is a complete sentence, but if I say no, I'm going to get hurt, because people will retaliate. People, temporal backup, meaning I can't call anybody to take. It's amazing, especially we get this BLM and the Black Lives Matter and all of a sudden you're not afraid of these people who are black like me. I'm mixed black, and they would say, okay, well, you're calling the police, so I'm going to act. I know how to work the police, but before, you're afraid of the police, you're so victimized by them. But in this situation, when you're dealing with somebody, and it's not about race, my point of it is, I'm not going to keep drawing on to this, but the point of it is, it's not about it is. I'm going to keep drawing on to this. Toxic people are character destruct, because when you run off of that toxicity becomes an addiction. Drama is an addiction, and you lose. There's homelessness, and she's saying people are lazy, right? She knows exactly what to say to continue to get people on focused on her. Because one thing that you will realize, people with cluster B personalities, like the Kardashians, people with cluster B personalities do not care whether it's negative or positive. They will siphon it. It's just energy. They need supply. Kanye wasn't giving her that supply. Okay? So, uh anyway, this is, I mean, and it's real. Again, I keep saying it, it's really important what you're thinking. So I was putting two and two together. This is why I file things in my head. I've always been like this. I'll file it, and then when it needs to come out, it'll be revealed to me, right? We all have these gifts. We all have these abilities. We're just not aware of them. We're birthing into our consciousness this other world that we say that we don't want. So you got to go back and do the work and say, okay, when I was unconscious, my subconscious was impregnated, and I birthed into consciousness something that I had no idea would come of it, because I wasn't thinking. I was out of my mind. There are times where we can go on autopilot, and it's really not autopilot, it's just resting. Because I don't know about you, but it's like a snow globe. When we're doing, we're collecting all these data, and all those particles in the globe are data, right? And we're building up to our greatness, because we have this goal that we set for our purpose, and we're like, okay, I'm trying to get here, I'm trying to get there. But then when all that settles down, sometimes we have to be still, phoenixes. Well, God told me to rest after I was so disappointed. And I got that, recently I've had to deal with that bitterness. I was so disappointed that I wasn't going to be last year. I was pissed. I was mad at myself. I was mad at my gang stalkers. I was mad at my two obsessive stalkers, because both of them were in my energy field, and both of them were trying to sabotage me. The succubus arrested like a caged bird in this city. So that I will somehow give in, to her witchcraft. I saw her when I let her go, and I got tired of the back and forth. I got tired of her. I don't have time for that. I'm a grown adult, dude. I'm a grown adult and I like what I like. It doesn't matter. And this person also was not up to what, who's out. If you're going to, I am uh, identify so anybody's side piece. I just got off the flipping streets, and I just got off the flipping streets, and you just treated me like, I mean, on one hand, I was a test, and I on one hand I was a test, and I hate tests. But on the other hand, I sell it for at least 15 years. Where I can really express myself to people. Okay, I can really express myself to people around here, because most people that I've talked to have been Mr. Smith into thinking something about me that is not real. Why? Because I have this obsessed, crazed, deranged, lunatic cluster B personality that won't leave me alone. Right? So, I mean, like I said, they've sabotaged me from building up boards in their gang, and tells them, well, this person's saying this and this person's saying this. Why? And they're believing her of her psychic abilities. And I say abilities, not gifts. Because I know one thing with this gang is that they do traumatize adults and children, because they want to bring that out of them. Right? Things. I mean, I know how sick it sounds, but I've seen it. I've seen children. I've seen teenagers. I've seen them groom. I've seen them being sex trafficked. And I've seen the cops laugh as if it's just no big thing. There's a lot of things that I saw while my 3 years on the streets, Phoenix says. That's why I said, God said, okay, do this documentary. I was like, well, we got to get out of here because I'm tired of the distraction. And I've noticed that every time I start working, it's like, she's like, oh, I don't want you to be known. Just because I'm doing a flipping documentary doesn't mean that I'm going to be picked up somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really good right now, so far in really monetizing, my social media, because my first concern is not, I don't chase money, but I chase purpose, right? Doesn't mean that I don't want to make money, but at the same time, I am working 40 hours a week, right? If I'm working 40 hours a week and I have to navigate through this landmine of people trying to hurt me or get me put in jail or kill me or rape me or do, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot that I'm dealing with. And that's why I have to keep myself isolated. I learned that the more, because if I can keep myself isolated, then when they accuse me of something, there's a pattern that's already been created that nope, I don't. I have no desire to do most of the crap that they've accused me of doing. But I've found out that many of these people who have accused me of being a sexual pervert are actually, some registered, some not, because they got away. I talked with the DJ. I talked to the lady who she violated. But I mean, you can go catch that on the replay, because she is the. So yeah. I mean, and it's just so again, it's knowing if a relationship with the Most High and being able to discern the spirits, discern my spirit team from my voice and their voice and God's voice and this succubus voice, then she would have taken me under. Her whole thing was to destroy me. And that's what she's told me. That's what she said, actually, telepathically. When you get somebody who has a grandiose sense of self, they don't think that other people have spiritual gifts. They don't think that other people have spiritual gifts. She was so used to, she'd been with her husband for 8 or 9 years. Right. So she had a thing for lying about her age. Like, she's in her 40s. I could see gray hair. What ended up happening with her is that, but anyway, let me get back to the other thing. I jump up. So she had been riding me for a long time, but when I cut her off, that's when I saw her with my mind's eye. And it's usually in my peripheral that I can see into the spiritual realm. And I saw her coming at me in this red, almost crimson, gelatinous form. She had a slug body and her head was on top. And I say slug because it was short. It wasn't like a snake. Right? It wasn't like a snake. And her Head was on top. And she was saying, she was like, I'm going to dominate you. She was doing these incantations. She was doing this, pardon me, allergies. She was doing this, I'm going to dominate you, and I'm in lust with you, or something like this. And whatever she was saying, it was like, okay, but I don't feel the same way, you know? And I was like, how dare you? So I was able to send it back to her, and she didn't realize that I could do that. Anybody can do that. You can send anything that's toxic and negative back to somebody, right? You can send it back. And that's what I did. And she was like, oh, wow, but it was still a constant battle. So she's using witchcraft to dominate me and to get me to fall in love with her. And every time I brought it back, I would just rip it back to her. And, then she started feeling that same feeling that she was trying to transfer to me. So lately, what has been happening within the last 2 weeks has been this death energy. And I know that somebody went through a psychosis, somebody had an aneurysm, these are not well. And what I'm upset about is that, because being an empath, and I've cleared my energy and I've sealed myself, but some people are very stubborn. See, misery loves company. And what people, personalities will do, that they energetically dump on you what they're going through, because misery will come to you, right? And so I've had projecting her stuff onto me. And usually when I get in, start doing my live, really changes, right? So you got to think, it's like these people are saying, oh yeah, there's somebody else. Remember when these guys would start talking to these entities that they said that they're channeling for. These entities that they said that they're channeling for. Yeah. Entities that they said that they were channeling for. This was really big in like early or late early to 2000 or early 2000. So if they can't have sweets because they have diabetes, or have sweets because they have diabetes, or they're having a stroke, or they're having something, like I have people in my energy that I know who they are, right? But I know that they're thinking about cinnamon and butter and all this other kind of stuff, and I'm like, wow, what is this? Why is it that I'm going, So empaths shield ourselves, right? There is a what is it? I think it's Buddhist mantra. And I am a big one for mantras, because those are the epitome of my words not returning to me void. Pardon me. Pardon me. My words not returning unto me void. And when you want to purify your ori, your ojas, your spiritual, energetic, etheric body, when you want to purify yourself of being around toxic people, or you know what I mean, then you say this. Hung vajape, hung vajape, hung vajape, hung vajape, hung vajape, hung vajape, hung vajape. Now, what that does is that, because I've had it done. These guys have tried to make me sick. When they can't come after your mind, when they can't come after the material things, and you holding on to it, right? I had already lost everything. There's nothing that I'm building everything new. So if God doesn't give it to me, I don't want it. Got it? God doesn't give it to me, I don't want it. So one thing they'll do next is they will attack your brain, attack your organs with voodoo dolls, right? I've felt it. Anytime you feel like a sharp pain, don't think that it's something that's like it's a health thing. Think about voodoo. Think about somebody or punching a pillow. Like I was waking up with, sore and whatnot, because why? I have somebody who's punching something and pretending that it's me. Like when you got people who work with 2-year-old to 7-year-old brains, right? Intelligence, or you're going to constantly throw a temper tantrum because you're not getting your way. I knew the DJ Olga T, would always be upset because she wasn't getting her way, because she spent all of her time. This is a 60-year-old woman. When I was living with her, she was in her mid to late 50s. Well, this was a 60-year-old woman who spends her time screwing up people's lives, telling other people to go and mess with this person, go and kill this person, go and do a voodoo thing on this person, go and get into this person's space. Do you know what I mean? Just do something to trigger somebody because she gets off on it. That's what she's been doing her whole life. If she was really in her purpose, all she could think about was doing DJ. But one thing I noticed with DJ Olga T is that she's very pliable to suggestions, right? So when you do that, Phoenix says, when I stopped caring, I couldn't afford to care. How can I afford to care when my life is on the line, when my bloodline is on the line? And said, I take it up again. I'll go ahead. I'll be that hero. I'll get on this hero journey. I'll start doing this shadow work. Number 223, I'm good. I can't do any more. Because as a filmmaker, always a beginning, an end. And when you watch the animes, they really do hold true to structure and their genre. I love it. And I love a lot of foreign films because they do hold to it really good. And so anyway, but with fairy tales, like, you get that we're on this mission, we're doing so much, and here's where we're going to go, and this is how we're going to get to it. But anyway, sorry, I forgot because I was rubbing my nose again. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, these guys don't care about what you're going through. They're home, so because they're working from a 3-year-old to 5-year-old, maybe 7-year-old brain, and this is how that's as far as their emotional intelligence goes, right? So the person that I was dealing with is, I noticed that she absorbs what other people do, and then she holds it hostage as her own. Right. So anyway, Phoenix says, I tell you these stories like I know I've been all over the place again because I've been under severe, heavy attack with this person who was sick. And I can tell that they are deathly sick. I predicted that she would be deathly sick a year ago. The other one, I don't know, because all three of them, I have 3 of them, and all 3 of them are sick, and all 3 of them, started out, well, you owe me, I helped you, I don't owe you anything. To me, when you help somebody, that gets them to the next level. That's helping, right? If me providing a meal and a room for the night gets you to the next level because you're able to rest, you got a full stomach, and you're able to make the calls, and you're able to have clarity, and you're able to get the spiritual download that you need that takes you to the next level. It's not, I don't have the right to hold you hostage. My spiritual mother used to say that God has to work through people's hearts. That's why sometimes it takes long, right? So it's not helping, as me mentioned before, that one of my defects of character has been me getting impatient and leaving before, or doing something ahead of its time because I can see it, right? It's sometimes when we are spiritual beings and we can see the future, we know that we know that we know. It doesn't mean that it's always right then and there. Like when in my youth, right? In my youth, I would be like, okay, I see this. Okay, let's get it, right? Because I'm already there. But and people will tell you, these manifester gurus, right? Or so-called, they'll tell you, oh, hey, if you want to go through that, then what you need to do is you need to just imagine it. What they're not telling you, that is, if it's not in divine timing, you can't do it. You cannot do it. The Most High is showing you because you've elevated to that point where you're already got the training. So the Most High is letting you know what is coming. What is coming? What is the next step? That's what the Most High is letting you know. Not that, oh, you got to go and do it now because you can see it. Well, if I can see it, why isn't it here? Why can't I be it? Because it's divine timing. It's not just you that God has to think about. It's everybody else. In my prayers now, right? In my prayers, I pray for my soul tribe. I pray for those, for justice for those who have also been affected by the gang stalking and not had a voice. Those who have committed suicide because they couldn't deal with the gang stalking. There's many stories about that because nobody believed them at the time. It's so popular now. You got every damn tarot reader talking about, soul ties and gang stalking and all, you know what I mean? All this other kind of crap. Narcissism now, succubuses and incubuses, and it's so weird because it's like, dude, I've been talking about this for a long time, right? Not even on a social media platform. It was before I even had a computer. Sometimes I'm a Johnny come lately because I'm not really hip. I mean, I like technology, but I don't like I don't need to overuse it. But anyway, so yeah, so it's been a rocky road. So for the last 2 weeks I've been dealing with somebody who is projecting their sicknesses onto me. Okay. And so sometimes Phoenix is, like I said, was getting ready to say, if you feel a prick or a pinch, right, then or you feel a burning. Like sometimes I'll feel a burning in my chest or whatever. It's not like chest, but it's around where the chakra is, right? Think about this, because you have chakras in your legs, all throughout your legs, up and down your legs. I mean, even to your ankle, to the tip of your toes, you have chakras. And there's a mantra for it, right? That's why I'm adamant about mantras, is because they cover all of that, right? So, and people don't listen to me when I talk about mantras. But anyway, that's why my brain is fragmented right now. It's, kind of, back and forth, because number one, I haven't been getting a lot of sleep, because this person, she wants me to go through everything she's going through as if it's my fault. It's not my fault what she's going through, because see, I didn't pick her. I don't have that mental disorder. I don't have that character disturbance. But these are people that misery loves company. Well, you did this to me, so I'm going to get revenge. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to sleep. I don't need to deal with you, but I had my sleep for the last week where I couldn't go to sleep, to be laying down, and I know that I'm tired, right? I had my digestive system attacked. I've had my brain attacked. And so a lot of times it's like, okay, I was in my prayer and meditation. I told the Most High, it's like, look, Most High, it's like, gosh, this is really hard, because if I need to go to the hospital, because the last time that they tried to kill me was on my birthday, exactly at midnight was when it hit me. Exactly at midnight. Luckily, I was able to throw a lot of it out. I mean, it took me 5 months to get that off of me. It took me 5 months. So if they're listening, hey, but now they're sick. See? That's what happens. But now, because they're sick, they're trying to get me sick. And it's like, okay, you did this last time too. So again, when you work on your trauma and you're not coming from that wounded child, you can see clearly what is yours, because you'll have the brain capacity to store files of remembrance. So I can go back. I was like, okay, last year you tried to kill me with this same witchcraft, where literally they were trying to arrest my body where I was not functioning. It felt like it was somebody said it online here. I was listening to her, and she said it was kind of like it was a funeral spell or something like that, a death spell. Something, but she used another term. But basically, it was, basically what I felt like was that I was a coffin spell. That's what it was. Coffin spell. So I have people doing witchcraft against me that I don't even know, who are mad because I don't even know. The ones that I do know, it's like it's been going on for over years. So not all of you Phoenixes are going to go through this. Thank God. Thank God. Because I tell you what, when the first time when they did this, and I've only had, because this was 8 months ago that this happened, and it was almost 9 months ago. So 8 months ago it happened. And for the last 3 weeks, I've been dealing with somebody else's sickness where it's manifested, but I can feel my brain patterns change. I can, all of a sudden, my digestive system, Phoenixes, was doing just fine. I'd quit smoking. I've been quit smoking for 5 months now, right? Immediately got into doing cardio. So I'd run at work, right? Doing my rounds on every floor, running, building up, right? Doing sprints when I go to the gym, not having any problems, right? For 5 months, Phoenixes. So the emotional intelligence would say that something's not sitting, the plates aren't sitting straight on the table. That it's witchcraft, it's something outside of myself. That somebody is so obsessed that they have to transfer, they're in my energy field, whether they're transferring it or they're just in the energy field, you're still feeling it. Right. And that sucks because it's like I'm not going to stop elevating myself, but I do have to work on getting myself away from uh, being projected upon. Right. I have to send it all back. I actually watched them again. Like I said, my mom, my my spiritual mother, Henrietta, bless her heart, years ago, she gave me a strong foundation to start off with. And she was a Christian witch. And she was a good one. She wasn't like, she was just like, people don't understand, but we would talk for 2, 3, 4 hours. And she actually, Phoenixes, she predicted this. She said God woke her up and she said he said, they don't know that you're my child, and they don't know that you got gifts, and they don't know who I am. And she had said to me, she said, they're going to try and kill you, but they don't know God. Right? This was back in 2009, 1995. No, not 1995. When was it? Oh, well, it was over 20 years ago. Because I met her in my teens, in my tweens, I think, at a bus stop. And we were just best buds, and I called her mama and everything. And I really love this lady still. And she would share her dreams with me, and I would just listen. Right? That old school passed down wisdom. Right? So even though, Phoenixes, we may not have the family that loved us, when we choose love, when we choose God, when we choose the side of righteousness, when we choose to be in our purpose, whether we know that that's what we're choosing or not, when we choose right, we will be provided for because of who we belong to. It says, I'm not religious at all. But some things are harder to quote in other spiritual practices than others. But it says, when my mother and father leave me, the Lord will take me up. And that was one of my favorite verses. I'm not quoting it perfectly, but I always believed that God loves me. I said, because they abandoned me, and I chose love while I was watching, is literally outside of myself. I don't know about you, Phoenixes, but I always felt too big for my body. My spirit always felt too big for my body when I was younger. I mean, yeah. So comment if if that resonates with you. My spirit always felt too big for my body. But Henrietta was one of those that were supplied to me. Right? That she was that one that was going to be my mother and my mentor. And we were friends for the longest time. I mean, up until, I graduated college and everything, and she was a beautiful soul. And, we had a falling out, but again, sometimes people don't want to let you go when you outgrow them. People don't want to let you go. And I still have to learn how to let people go right? Because I get frustrated, I get impatient sometimes. But anyway, now that I know, but she knows that I love her, and all is well. So anyway, yeah. So getting to know yourself helps you when you have things like witchcraft. Getting to know God of your understanding helps you with everything, right? I made a choice not to do anything. Like, I'm itching to go now. I actually had this succubus twit, okay, because she knew that I was living in a van before. I don't know her situation now. All I know is that the last time I saw her, her husband kicked her out because she got caught cheating. She lied and said that she finally left him. Now, that's a red flag. After you meet somebody and then you move and then all of a sudden you break up and thinking that this person's going to be with you or whatever, right? All I knew was that when she was by herself, she brought everything that she had, supposedly had, which none of my business anyway, and I didn't want to get involved in it. But I noticed that she was acting real weird. Real weird. Like, even there, when she was here, she didn't want to talk to me. Right? When she was in the back in the hotel after breaking up with her husband or whatever, she didn't want to talk to me. And I was just like, okay, whatever, dude. And I think that basically, and please do not put it past these borderline personalities or these cluster B personalities. Don't put it past them, because what I believe actually happened, now that I'm talking about it, is that she staged a breakup, because this is what DJ Olga T did. She staged a breakup with her wife, as she called her. Now, both of these, mind you, I've said this before, both of these women, gang stalkers, succubuses, um, witches, gang members, were side pieces. They were not married to their significant others. Their significant others were married. So they, in fact, were the side piece, trying to make me a side piece. Right? So, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to brag about I'm a side piece, you know? And the only reason why I found that out with the DJ was because she let that slip, and then she regretted it, right? Because she was talking about her so-called best friend, and the thing with her is she always thinking that's the histrionic personality disorder, is that you misconstrue the intimacy or the purpose of a relationship, right? Where you're always thinking, okay, well, this person is attracted to me and they want to marry me, so why aren't they doing this and why aren't they doing that? Now, it's going to materialize in different ways based on their social experiment, environment and whatnot. But this woman could not. She was trying to convince me, again, telepathically. She wouldn't say it out loud, right? Because she couldn't wait to go to bed because she wanted to sleep with me. Do you know that this woman has still been doing that for the last 4 years? Imprinting herself, like fragmenting, sending a fragmented piece of herself to me when I go to sleep, monitoring me. Where am I going? Because to her, I'm her property still. You know how long that's been. Do you know how deluded and deranged you have to be to continuously stalk somebody and harass somebody and slander somebody and, still throw witchcraft at somebody and pretend that it's okay, you know? But you're living a different type of life, right? So, anyway, I didn't get all that I wanted to say out here, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I understand with the gang stalking. I understand with the witchcraft. Again, I've been dealing with it because somebody else is projecting their physical pains to me. Right? They're telepathically like trying to tell me, well, this is what I'm going through. I don't care. I really honestly don't care. Because these are the same people who didn't care when they were throwing death spells and coffin spells and funeral spells and end of the road spells and curse all spells and destroy all spells and Santa Muerte incantations and all that stuff. They didn't give a shit about how I would feel about them doing that to me. And I've done nothing to them. I've done nothing to them. Everybody who I have told you guys about, and they could vouch for that, because one of the DJ Olga T told me that I was a mooch. She said, "You're a moose." She told the cop because I would almost beat her ass. And because she spit in my face and said, "This is why people hate black people." Because she was sabotaging me because I wasn't giving her the supply that she thought that she was going to get from me. So because I wasn't giving her the supply, she was going in for the final blow and I didn't care. I just stared at her. I kept my cool. I stared at her. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, but you will give me 30 days though, because I was pissed off. And not only it wasn't my legal right, I was pissed off because she had been sabotaging me. She had been sabotaging me. On one hand, telling me, and this is what they do, they are quick to stab you stab you in the back. They can say, and you can believe them, you could believe them. And because they sound convincing. And they're just great actors and actresses. They'll sound convincing. Oh yeah, I want to help you out. Really? So why did you try and run me over? Vehicular homicide. She tried that twice. Once it almost got me. If one of my pities, like I said, Phoenix says, my journey for the last 4 years has not been without trepidation, has not been without its trauma, has not been, you know what I mean, undeserved. I've always that type of person. Hey, I'll admit what I do wrong, but if I don't do anything wrong, then you got God to mess with, because God said, "Touch not my anointed." And you came after somebody who actually, I mean, I paid her rent. I took out her dog when I took care of her dog, took out of her dog to her, whatever she needed me to do. So when she was, you know what I mean? Did all that stuff. And here this person was sabotaging me from getting a job because she didn't like it. She wanted me to be depending on her. She wanted to have something to complain about. She wanted to have something to be abusive about. Never talked to me, talked at me, gave me directives, and I'd have to tell her, hey, don't talk to me. But anyway, when you grow, Phoenixes, and you're on a lot of people may not want to take their soul journey, right? They may not want to do that deeper shadow work that they know that they got to get on and do. You know why? Because they know that they're going to be attacked. Right? Because like moths to a flame, evil will come. Because their whole thing is, why? When you know who Cluster B's personalities are, you know who the devil's minions are. And the devil's minions, the devil will send out his minions to steal your joy, your light, your gifts, even try and change your destiny. The succubus is trying to change my destiny. So that's what I was going to say. She was had infiltrated, and all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. I was like, because all of a sudden I got it wasn't a download. So I know how God speaks to me. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, get in the van. It wasn't get back in the van. It was like, go rent a van and live out of that. And you can save money and stuff. And I thought to myself, that sounds, I can relate to that. And I'd been thinking about it for like 2 months, I think. And I'm like, why does this keep coming up? Why does this keep coming up? Because I know that I have more than enough money to be where I'm at right now. And I wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like it is going to take a minute to save up. You bet. It would be quicker for me to go in the van. But is that really what God wanted? So when I kept hearing this and I finally heard it, it was a woman's voice. And I'm thinking to myself, nope, because I've been betrayed. I've been fooled before. And this succubus is very good at, like, she made me think that we were having a cute meet, She was making me think that I was uncomfortable, or that I was, somehow infringing on their personal space by me walking to work and them always being outside, and which that was strategically her, where she wanted me to say something to them. I remembered staring at her and her looking at me, and I heard her say, wow. Okay, so they can see into your soul. And that's when she was like, okay, I'm going to get what I need from you. And being a succubus was money. So it feels like it's this woman who's telling me, okay, get into there, but why? I did this 2 years ago. Why? right? Why do you want me to go into this van now? So I ask God for clarity. And that's what you do when you have a relationship with a higher power and you hear something that sounds okay but really doesn't make sense. Like, it wouldn't be a bad thing, but then what if I couldn't get back into the hotel, right? The last time, I mean, it's like all of a sudden I had a lot of money saved up, and then when I wasn't able to move, all of a sudden that money disappeared. All of a sudden I started having, you know, unforeseen debts, right? And a lot of times these guys they use witchcraft to create debts on you too, right? So really, Phoenix says it's just about, I'm doing these 5 workshops. The first one is self-talk. This is the second day of the 3-day mini workshop, and it will be posted. So if you're subscribed, thank you. And you'll get it. You'll get me talking about it, and last day is tomorrow. So I'll be going over it. But my whole goal, my passion is getting people to understand from what I've been shown, from what I've been told, like this will save your life, right? This will save your life, because unfortunately, as we as we continue on in this life, there are people who are absolutely devoid of a soul, or devoid of a healthy soul. They're fragmented. And they've made pacts with devils and demons. They've made these pacts. They signed on the dotted line. And and they're never coming back. And their whole thing is to be mad at those of us who are doing the work, who have done the work, right? Who are loving on ourselves, who are in our purpose. You can be passionate about something, but it doesn't mean that just because you're passionate about it, that's what you're supposed to do. What is your purpose? Right? Is your purpose to be an accountant? Is your purpose to be a guitar player, right? For some kind of band, or just a good solo guitar player, because somebody needs to hear your style. Because your style harmonizes with their energy vibration, their energy signature. Right? It's being in your purpose. How do you know what your purpose is? You know what your purpose is when you know what you're not. Right? Because some of us are still carrying on those ugly things, those nasty things that were done to us or said to us to keep us to shut up. And they've been in there for so long, and they need to come out now. Because I tell you what, when I went on my soul journey and I had to do that, it was so freeing. It was so freeing. I met my higher self. Me and my higher self, boy, and my higher self is strong too. My higher self is not, plays no games. Plays no games. That's, I mean, it just on from a spiritual perspective, spiritually speaking, Phoenix is, for me, I can't show you what I see. But if you have faith, and if you feel called to have me as your professional coach, life coach, then, or to take one of my workshops, right? If then you start working through this process honestly, right? Not because you and your spirit guides will know, and the Most High will know when you're not being authentic with yourself, right? I was raw with it. To be able to say, Lord, I'm afraid of saying no, especially to black men, because anytime you say no to them, they throw a fucking temper tantrum, and that scares the crap out of me. Right? But I said no anyway, and I was tested, because the devil will test you. Look how many times, for how long the Satan tempted Yeshua. Look how long he tempted him. So if Yeshua said, these things I do, you can do greater. If that's the case, then we gonna be going through the same temptation that Yeshua went through, because that's what the devil will put us through, not God. God didn't take Jesus to a mountain and say, hey, I'll give you all this if you bow down and worship me. Notice how it was always Satan doing crap like that. Notice that. That's how I got to put things in perspective now. God wouldn't tell me to do certain stuff knowing that I know the plan that he has for me, right? Knowing that I know the plan that he has for me, knowing that I'm being attacked right now, where they're literally trying to kill me because they're dying, especially now, right? Having me thinking that I'm having some kind of stroke, that I'm having some kind of aneurysm, right? When I already knew, and God brought that up to me, it's like, okay, because see, and one thing that one of these guys will do is like, okay, well, here's an explanation, and this is this. Nuh-uh. You're not being helpful. You know what I mean? I know because I know the spirit. I know your energy signature. You may not be evil in right now, but I know your energy signature and I know how you work. I know how God works. I know how I work. I know how my guides work. And I know how evil succubus's brat like you works. So I know it. You know what I'm saying? So they'll try and get things past you. They'll try and get it past you. Because I know that this is something that she was fantasizing about, was being in the van with me. So that's why I said, Lord, I just want to confirm because I want to be obedient. If it's you, then confirm that it's you in a way that you know that I will understand that it came from you. Right? Another reason why they'll start attacking you and making you sick is so that you can't hear God. Because if you can't hear God, Phoenix says, then what? You can't get directions. It makes it harder to get directions. So what the prayer then becomes, all right, Lord, I am under heavy attack. I pray for the angels to intervene. In the meantime, while they're intervening and you guys are doing your thing, I pray that you just intervene and in my life and pick me up and take me where you need to go. Because I got demons and I got warlocks and I got witches and I got incubuses and I got succubuses and I got all these people who are trying to kill me because they know that their time is up. They know that what they did to me is unrighteous. They know that what they were going to pay for it. They thought they were so arrogant. They thought that I would be dead already. They thought that I would be begging them for forgiveness for the crap that they did to me. And that didn't happen. So now they're wounded. They're wounded more than ever because now they're starting to get sick off of their witchcraft. So now they're trying to make me sick. Now they're trying to make me see death, but they forget that they already did this. They did this to me last year. And I was walking around. I had to go to work, Phoenix is. There was one time I had to walk from work and I felt this disgusting demonic presence around me, and with my spiritual eyes it literally looked like a hodgepodge blob of disgustingness, which was this person that is this DJ Olga T. See, just because they look normal in the human world doesn't mean that in the spiritual world they don't take on their true form. Now, how anime can you get? Right? So anyway, Phoenix says, thank you for listening to me and I love you. And if you want to sign up for go to my link tree in the description and sign up for with the for the newsletter, so that way you guys can get any type of notifications of when I'm doing other workshops. And if you want to become support me by becoming a patron, I would certainly love that because I am saving up. So I got a goal, and I'm working and doing what I need to do. But any type of, if you just want to give a donation, then there's a donation button in my link tree where you can gift and help support me. Especially since I have this documentary film that I'm working on, that would be greatly appreciated and helpful. Also, becoming a Patreon, there's a $15 tier, there's a $35 tier. $15 tier, you're basically a supporter, but you do have access to replays that I won't be posting here on YouTube. You also have access to 10-minute relaxation sounds and ASMRs, and also affirmations, right? So then on the $35 tier, you will have access to workshop replays, 35-minute to an hour relaxation sounds, affirmations being spoken by myself up with music and ASMRs for a period of time, that is. So, depending if you guys can support me and if get donations, whatever, then I can continue to do this work because I do have bills to pay, and sometimes not a lot of discretionary income because, as I said, I am saving up to move. So any help that you can provide would be greatly appreciated. Even a dollar goes a long way if 100 people start to chip in a dollar, right? So again, you can go to my link tree and make a donation if you'd like to. Again, I'm working on a documentary, so that would be very helpful to finance that. So yeah, sign up for the newsletter, all on my link tree, so you can get notification of the workshops. Patreon, the tier you will have access to, and the podcast. I think I'm just gonna leave here on YouTube, but you will have access to um, the workshop and the masterclass replays. And actually, what's coming up is from Pavlov to God. That's the next workshop, and the workshop is only, like I said, $35. I don't have the time and date is to be announced still, but it's only $35, and it's a 3-day workshop. Okay, so if you want to get your seat, just get on that newsletter. And I don't have enough people on the newsletter to do the newsletter right now. You know what I mean? Like I have myself as a testing it, and then somebody else. But I'm gonna start using it again. I'm trying to manage my time, but you when I get enough people on there who feel like they're interested, then who sign up for the newsletter, then you guys will be notified. So appreciate you, and remember, your blessings are in your ashes. Rise, Phoenix.